If you guys want to see how I turn this into all of this, stick around. All right, so Joseph's done a killer job taking over, getting all the front end fabbed up for me, getting the firewall made. So I got him on a couple other projects. So I'm gonna go on and fabricate this front filler panel, start building the inner fender wells, and I'm probably going to finish up the firewall. Just depends on what kind of time constraints I get pulled into. Cody's got the radiator tacked up, mounted, so I'm able to come in here and modify what I need to. So I'm gonna go in and get some 18 gauge and start fabricating some patterns, or actually I'm gonna get some paper and start fabricating some patterns. This is the U-line paper we use for mock-up. It basically simulates the thickness of the steel, so it makes, when we actually make our pattern, it is real time. So U-line, it's a S8294. Works great, we've been using it for years. Check them out. All right, so I just finished fabricating the two corner caps. Just a simple little bend. Trying to basically resemble what the bottom side of the hood is gonna look like as it comes over. So this is gonna be the two sides and I'll bubble up. So basically what I have going on here is this piece basically is gonna bolt to the flange that Joseph already pre-made for me. And this piece, I gotta manipulate just a hair, but it's gonna sit there. This piece, it'll sit just like this. So that way I can close all my gap and across the edge. I gotta basically add a little sheet metal to that corner there. The reason I'm stepping back a ½ inch here is because the distance from here to here is the same from here to here. Basically, if the hood was to close, it's gonna make contact here to right here. So that's the reason I'm having to basically step back just a hair. If we really thought about that, which sometimes this happens, we would have dropped this in about a ½ inch and we would have been just fine. So making this little transition is no big deal. It would actually probably give us more room to give us some room to get a wrench in there. So all right, so I just finished fabricating this little piece. This is gonna go here, as you saw in a little template there. It's kind of a funky piece, actually. This one goes on this side. It'll get the flat piece of metal and somehow clear everything. So let's see what we can do. So I'm pretty close getting this panel wrapped up. I got about 3 hours into it right now. I've got this piece English wheel, so I got a crown going both ways. I'm gonna hammer and dolly this little seam. I gotta finish fitting this, get this finished to clear around the radiator cap. Both sides are done. And I'm probably gonna do something in the middle. I'm not too sure yet. Kind of tell me once I get this piece put back in here. The trickiest part of the whole deal is trying to keep this line exactly straight. You can see I got a little wibbly wobbly down there.
Don't tell nobody that. That's our secret, okay?
I'm gonna cut these couple tacks loose and pull this back out and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna go test fit this now. All right, so I just got finished fabricating the radiator support. Everything fits pretty decent all the way around, but it looks just too plain here in the center. So I'm not sure if I'm going to actually draw something up in CAD and CNC it on the router and then hammer our metal to shape form around this insert, or I'm just going to cut a design in the top of this to kind of mirror image the firewall. But that's what I'm going to work on next, and I'm going to basically just wrap this over the top of the radiator. I'm going to pie cut these just a hair and get this to roll down a little bit more, so it's basically a round edge to mirror image the back of the firewall. All right, so I got the corners tapped down. gives me a little bit better radius. I better true that high point up there, but yeah, I'll take these up. That'll give us a nice transition. All right, got it all welded up, sanded down. I'm gonna go in and cut my opening in here, hammer my design out of that, TIG weld it in, metal finish it, just so it has something to break all this up, because that's quite a bit of just bareness. All right, so I was gonna originally cut this section out, change my mind. It's gonna look better if these go all the way back and then they curve over behind the radiator. So got this clamped in, so as I TIG these in, nothing distorts or does anything dumb. So this is always just a good tick to keep your stuff from moving. So we got quite a few of these old school clamps we got from a customer that was like, man, you want these? Heck yeah, we do. We love clamps. Here's my little filler panels. These will go right inside here, cap that off. Should give it a little bit better appearance than just a big wall of sheet metal in the front. All right, so now that I got this piece made, I'm gonna take another piece of sheet metal. I'm gonna come and basically put a small radius. It's gonna come down and wrap around this fan shroud. The only other problem I'm gonna run into is when these two lines have to come through, two radiator hoses have to come through. I have to better break this up, still better attach it and still make it look good. So what I'll probably do is I'm gonna come around and do half of this. So I'll basically come here, I'll put two small screws somewhere in here, and then the inner fender well, as it comes over, it'll have another place to fasten. So this is the trickiest part when you start building panels. You gotta figure out, okay, you built the panel, how the heck am I gonna attach it? So that's what I'm fixing to get started on now. All right, so this is partial of my pattern, 16-inch fan. This is 15 and 7/8. That way I'm just a hair smaller, so by the time I TIG weld it, it'll fit just where I want it to. This is a small little radius, probably gonna make a 1-inch pipe that I'll put inside of our Bentley magnetic sheet metal brake, and build all this out of 18 gauge. I'll take this, roll this over in the brake. I'm gonna extend these, and they're 10.5 to 10 3/4 inches on each side to give me plenty of room to adjust and cut and modify as I get ready to build these inner fender wells. All right, so I just got finished cutting my piece on the bandsaw. I'm gonna take this now and put in our magnetic sheet metal brake. I wanna do a curve, so with the magnetic brake, it allows me to basically get any kind of piece of solid bar stock set on there. Basically just slide this directly forward, lining up right on this line, and I'll make a bend. So as I get ready to pull this up to make the bend, it's gonna make the metal curve around that piece of solid bar stock. All right, now I got our piece all cut and bent around the edge here, so I have a nice rolled radius. It basically matches the contour of pretty much the whole car, since the whole car is bubble. So I get the fun challenge now of connecting here to here with this compound angle and dropping this down. I'm gonna reverse these and move these to the bottom side. Cut me a hole here, and for our radiator cap, cut one over there. This is one tricky piece I've been working on. It's taken about an hour to get this last piece made. I just got it TIG welded in, hammer and dollied out. I wanted to make sure I kept the round curve on this side, kept the back completely straight, kept this curve continuously flowing through. So now that that's done, I'm gonna make a filler panel here, take this over, curve it, and then I'm gonna show you how I made this side on this side. All right, got our piece welded in. Now let's go see how it fits. All right, so this is what the little cover looks like now after it's all made. There's the back side, goes right around, fan shroud. I'm gonna open this hole up a little bit bigger to make the hose come through it. Now you can get your hand in there. take the cap off. All right, so now this piece is all fabricated and bolted in. I'm gonna go in and remove the stock manifolds off the LS3 and put our new headers on, and then I'm gonna go on and machine the steering column adapter for the very bottom, so when our steering column comes through, I can just shoot straight through there, tie into the bottom, and then once that's in, headers are in, that'll give me the opportunity to then go on and start building these inner fender wells. All right, so here's my piece of pipe. Y'all haven't used these weld corn gloves? Freaking awesome. So I'm gonna take this pipe, man, this might be like schedule 80, but pretty heavy duty. I'm gonna cut it to the, probably about 4 inches, actually probably about 6 inches. Then I'm gonna bore the inside out so it'll slip right over this off the bottom. Then my gear selector right here, we'll bolt on there. I'll use a saw set screw that comes in the bottom, and to let everything basically just then tie all together and be very smooth. There's our piece, welded and installed. So I actually turned these bolts down, you can see the bottom, so when I filled this up with a TIG weld around each one of these, it has plenty of meat to grab into and still sits flush up inside these 2 holes. To go in this hole. So it'll sit in there like so, lines right up exactly where it needs to be. All right, so we're back in the Fleetline now. I wanted to weld it to the bottom of the dash, get rid of the old one. So now our column virtually looks like it's floating in here. It just looks way better. I got 2 bolts, one there, one there. So that's how the column actually gets installed. On the bottom side, there's our other sleeve we made. I'll TIG weld that in and grind it all smooth. So no lower clamp, just a set screw going in the bottom of that. And there's our column. I'll finish tightening it up and we'll see what it looks like. So factory, there was a big bracket right here, but they removed it off this side. Joseph's went on and added the 2 inches here, so when we build our inner fender well, it comes up and then goes down, it will get sandwiched and bolted on the bottom side, so you have just a clean, simple line that looks like this all the way back. So inner fender will come across. Joseph's already got the firewall done, and he put this bead in there, so when I build my inner fender well, it'll come right down next to the steering column, go across, cover all the suspension components up. All right, I got 2 pieces of 16 gauge aluminum. I'm gonna make my template that's gonna basically roll all the way around to the bottom, and I'll also do the one that's gonna come right here. So when I make my cardboard template, I'm the exact same from side to side. All right, I've been busy fabricating this inner fender well panel on the driver's side. So my little trick is I go on and fabricate these 2 side pieces to create my pattern, which is over there, and then get my top piece welded on. I go on and shrink this piece to give me a good, nice curve that matches the fender. Gets a nice curve to match the fender this way, and then I lay my bead rolls out off my template, and then I go on and anneal this, get it soft, where I'm able to just easily bend that. Did the same thing here. I actually put this one in the brake over there and put a piece of pipe so I can whoop, bend it right over. So here's basically my finished piece. Came out pretty sweet. I did a little hammer and dolly in this little action here, but now when we grind all my welds down, and then we're ready to set this dude in there. And the issue I ran into on the inner fender well was I didn't leave a mark for my intake tube to go through. So luckily, as I was bead rolling this, I stopped here. So you can see my little scratch marks. So I went over, made my template, got it marked. So now my intake tube will slide right through there, and you'll see here in a second what it's gonna look like. Alrighty, so this side is all fabricated up. This is the hole for our intake tube to go through. I just got finished fabricating these 2 little dies. Basically, it's a mirror image of this side, and then I'll lay my cardboard template over the top of those and get ready to start bead rolling. All right, so I just about finished up the engine bay. Got all my filler panels done. It goes off the back of the radiator. You see my 1 3/4 tube down there coming out of the back of the radiator. I extended both of these to 1.5 inches so I can put my clamp on both of these versus being hidden up behind this. This is all 1.5 inches. I just put an adapter inside here, and then on the bottom side I took the factory neck and 1 3/4 tubing. There was like on a 30 or 45 degree, I can't remember now. Put a little bead roll in the end of it, and then I'll just basically have a straight piece of tubing that runs between those 2. Both inner fender wells are wrapped up, intake tube. Now I'm going to take on the valve covers. I got cool covers that I'll mill the top of them off. and get rid of the Chevy script, and it'll say Fleetline and basically the same font. We are going to leave the factory intake because there's nothing wrong with that, and we're trying to keep this a pretty simple, clean build inside the engine bay. So once I get the valve covers on, I'm going to fabricate a filler panel here. So I'm going to pull the rails off because, as you can see on this side, when I put a valve cover on here, it's going to go all up inside this. It's going to be in the way. So I'm going to either heat this up and bend this, or I'm going to go straight out here, cut this and put me a piece on there. So that's my next step. All right, so since we don't keep nothing stock around here, I'm gonna get rid of these old, well, new valve covers. So if you're in the market for some 821 head valve covers, there you go. So we're gonna put these on there. We don't like these either. So where it says Chevrolet across there, I've drawn up in CAD, and I will mill the top of this off, and it'll say Fleetline in the exact same script, which will look better than a store-bought part. And y'all thought I forgot to put on the covers so we don't get the engine dirty inside. That's how it's already done. Don't judge me. All right, as you can see, I was able to get my 90 bent out of here. This is the fitting we're gonna use, which is a 640853. This is a push-on quick connect. So you'll take this fitting, slide it on here, that's it. Then we'll take our dash 6 and go all the way back to the fuel tank. Well, and probably about a month I'll be ready for that part. But at least this will be on here. I'm gonna go and run just a small stubby line we use for mock-up, and that'll at least tell me what direction I have to go to, so I can at least hopefully get a bolt to go in there for these covers. If not, then I gotta figure something else out. Maybe I'll bend this piece again and bend it down, but it'll tell me here in a second. Well, that looks a lot better. But we're gonna have wiring and a bunch of other junk on both sides that I don't really want to see. So I'm gonna make a cover that just covers both sides of these fuel rails. It just goes straight to the valve cover. It just keeps it nice and clean and tidy in here, like I should have been from the factory. Better. Well, this here project just escalated. I was just gonna make some covers for the fuel injectors and the full pack harness, but yeah, it's escalating. Now I've got to cap the front off. We're gonna get it back open for wiring. But yeah, I got some little bead rolls in there. Rounded this over. This will just round over to match the roundness of everything else. More than I bargained for, but I think it's gonna be worth it. Here it is. One side is done. It looks better than that. So now I'm going to fabricate the other side and hope and pray that it matches this side, because this side turned out pretty sweet all the way down. Sometimes fabricating the panel is the easy part. Now I have the privilege of making something to attach these things. So I'm gonna go probably off these two and either put an insert in them. It's threaded. Yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen, like a 1032. And then I'll make a little aluminum bracket that comes over, sits level, come over and sit like that. And then these will fasten either with a magnet or high strength Velcro. We use quite a bit of Velcro on some of our engine covers just for the fact that it's simple, it's easy. If you want to change the oil or get into something, you just pop the Velcro off and it holds up to the temperatures inside the engine bay. So don't be afraid to use Velcro when you can. So I'll do the same thing on both sides, and at least now both of these are fabricated, done, and it just sits like it's supposed to at home. So very pleased on how this came out. Yeah, pretty sweet little, great little covers. Okay, I got my piece made. Some little Sharpie marks. That's where the injector clips go. Should have marked that out in my template, but I didn't. But it sits right in there, and this sits level. I'm gonna put a piece of Velcro there, and that'll get us. Pretty tired. It's Friday. Got a photo shoot tomorrow. I'm pretty pumped about. We got a lot on our plates right now. Got a lot going on. Just blessed with work. It's fantastic. All right, engine covers are just about wrapped up. I just finished fabricating the mount for the cool covers and the what the heck you call these things? The fuel injectors. So this is what my brackets look like. I put the inserts in on both sides. Solid aluminum, 16 gauge on both sides. This cover will set over here and the other one will go on the other side. So that's what it looks like. I didn't fasten the Velcro yet because it's all going to come back apart anyways. Then I'll do that after we get ready to paint these pieces.
Guys, what a remarkable video. I mean, that guy's got so much talent, it hurts. A little footnote before we go. We have got back-to-back shows going on right now, and it is intense. This weekend, Charlie is riding out solo to Tupelo, Mississippi for yet another show, while Cody, Gary, Joseph, and I are holding it down at the shop for as many more days as we can before the whole crew goes out to Detroit and Chicago to the infamous Autorama to see Riddler cars being debuted for the first time since before this wildly inconvenient pandemic. I know this was a long one, folks, so if you guys enjoyed the video and stuck it out till the end, please leave a comment, let us know. That kind of support means the world to us. Next week, we're firing up the old grocery getter. If you want to see what this 500 horsepower full trim sedan looks like while it's burning tires, then you ought to subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and stick around for next week. Thanks for watching.